Hi, welcome to The Soup. I'm your guide through the miasma. I'm Brian Caramel, White House reporter, and for 38 years, a professional reporter. I've worked at television, newspapers, radio stations, magazines, everything from Playboy to America's Most Wanted. And over the last 3.5 decades, I've heard a lot of people say the media sucks. They're not wrong, but they also say that we're either biased to the left or biased to the right. So if you're left, you think that we're basically fascists, close to Adolf Hitler or Mussolini. And if you're on the far right, you think we're apologists for the far left and owned by, George Soros and God knows who else. None of that's true. You all are right. There is a problem with the press, but I'm here to tell you, you don't know what it is. And I'll let you know what it is because it bothers me deeply. The American media in this world, our American media, is biased towards money. When I first got into the business, 80% of what you see, read, or hear was owned by about 24 companies. And today, 6 companies own about 90% of what you see, read, or hear, which means on the board of directors, there's maybe 100 people total across the country who have direct effect on what you see, read, or hear. And that's the problem. And these people are not biased to the left or biased to the right. They're biased towards money. And they want to make as much money as they can, and how they can get you to click on, clickbait, to click on whatever they put online. That's what they'll print. What you want to hear, what you want to see, what you want to read. So if you stay within your own philosophical cul-de-sac and news cul-de-sac and simply read what you want to read, they're going to make money off of it. That's the problem with the American press in a nutshell. And I've heard us all the time told that we are biased towards the left or the right, and that's simply not true. Look, the American press started out as being instruments of political parties, and it was only political news that was in these rags. When we expanded and got advertisers, we became less slaves to the politicians and more slaves to our advertisers, who were owned by the politicians. So we were once removed. And over the years, we've been told that there was at one point in time, a golden standard for a great time for the American media. And I've never seen that. What I have seen since Ronald Reagan is the decimation of the First Amendment. Ronald Reagan started it by getting rid of the Fairness Doctrine. Then we had the Patriot Act, where several pieces of legislation that could never be passed in Congress were cobbled together so that we could pretend to go after people that had bombed us, on 9/11. And the simple fact of the matter is, a lot of that legislation wasn't passed because it sucked, and it also diminished and demeaned the First Amendment and free speech. We've seen presidents who've used the Espionage Act to go after reporters and whistleblowers. We've allowed ownership of newspapers and television stations to increase at such a rate that what you used to be limited in a number of television stations, radio stations, or newspapers that you could own. Not today. So Sinclair, iHeartRadio, the Alden Group, all of these people own hundreds of different outlets, newspapers, television stations, radio stations. And the big problem is they've gotten larger, they've gotten cheaper. They've cut the bottom line. Sure, there's a lot of people, and you will go after, we need to be more middle of the road, is what you'll hear people say. More middle of the road. That's crap too. You need to be more accurate. You need to vet your facts. There are newspapers that don't have copy editors. There are television stations that don't edit copy. We have become, the biggest change in news came when radio started, and people began to, the news cycle began to become more rapid. And so you had to be first. You had to be first. When television came, you had to be first. When cable came, we had to go first. And all of that simply meant that we weren't getting it accurately done. I can't tell you the number of times I've had reporters come to me and say, this is what I think. And I tell them, I don't care what you think. I only care what you know. I barely care what I think. Please go out and vet the facts. This is an opinion piece. It is labeled as such, but it's an opinion piece based on the facts that I've accumulated in this business for the last 35 years. If people don't want to listen, if you think you have seen something on YouTube, you've never been in the business, but you think you know what's wrong, I'm sorry, you're inaccurate. This is what's wrong. Bust up the media monopolies. Make for a diversity of ownership in media. And for the love of God, vet your facts, label them as such, and label opinions as opinions. How many times have you watched something on cable news where you have a moderator and 3 or 4 different people on a panel? They yell at each other for 5 minutes, nothing gets done, and no facts are brought out. Well, you know why they do it? Because that's cheap. I can get you on the air and we can argue and fill up time and aggravate people and anger them and get them happy and never really teach them anything. Investigative reporting is what's necessary for good reporting. That starts at the local level, and we have far fewer newspapers today than we did when I first got into the business. And investigative reporting costs money and time. Guess what? We're never going to be first anymore. If you show up at a news event with your cell phone, it has a camera and video, you'll be on social media with the fire, with the wreck, with whatever's happened before I can ever get there with a news truck. What we have, what is necessary to go forward are vetted facts. That's a fact. And I'm tired of hearing about how Maggie Haberman has enabled Donald Trump. And I'm tired of hearing about how CNN enables the left or Fox enables the right. If you don't like it, don't buy it. That's the beautiful bottom line. You get the media you want, you deserve. If you want different, turn it off. Don't read it. Don't buy it. But you know what? If you really want to help out the press, buy a local newspaper. That's where most national news starts. That's where most reporting starts, most real reporting. There are people that are in the White House briefing room. We're always told that we suck in the White House briefing room. We do. And here's why. It used to be in that first row in the White House Brady briefing room, there was 200 years of experience in just those 7 seats. Today, you're lucky if there's half that. The large corporations, in an effort to save money, have decided that you no longer need experience to show up and cover the White House. You simply need a degree. You have no idea how to gather information. I have no respect for most of the people there. Those that I have respect for in the White House briefing room are those who've paid their dues and know how to act as a reporter and hold truth to power and not suck up to them to get access. And those people are rare. Those people are diminishing in number, and the nation is suffering as a consequence. Anyway, that's my day in this soup. Thank you so much for listening to me rant and rave. By the way, you can read all about this in a book called Free the Press. Wonder who wrote it. Have fun. I'm telling you, it's a tough room.
This November is Rovember. MeidasTouch just released its brand new collection of Rovember t-shirts and pins to let the country know what's at stake this upcoming midterm election. Go to store.meidastouch.com to grab yours. That's store.meidastouch.com.